Good afternoon and welcome to 6 Ways to Make More Money in the Tap Room. I'm Patricia Mejia, I'm the CMO at GoTab, and I'm so excited to be here with my colleagues Taylor Smith and Doug Cleary. Before we get started, we have a couple of things for housekeeping. We will record this event. We will be sending a link out to everyone that's registered. Please post your questions in the webinar comments section, and we are going to be monitoring them throughout the content. And we'll weave those questions in if they're timely, but we'll definitely make sure that we capture them and cover at the end of the webinar or as follow-up if we don't have time. At the end of the day, it's all about winning in the tap room, and we want to show you some of the most impactful strategies. Taylor's got some great expertise coming from his deep background in brewery, Doug as well. And so it's all about giving you the tools that you need to be successful. The one thing we will say is we know everyone's business is different. So at the end of the day, we want to talk to you directly if you have any specific questions. So feel free to sign up for a demo, reach out to us through email. But with that, enough setup, I'd like to hand it off to Taylor and Doug to introduce themselves.
Great, thanks, Patricia. Hi, everyone. Doug Cleary, Director of Sales and Enablement at GoTab, and also avid craft beer tourist. I've been to well over 200 breweries, and whenever I'm in a new place, I'll find just about any excuse to check out the local brewery scene. I think what I love most about the expansion of craft breweries is in regard to the tap room, like once again, they become a local gathering place for the community, and each one of them gives their own unique experience. And I'm very fortunate to be in a role with the company here to be able to help owners and operators shape that guest experience and find the right balance of technology in the tap room. And now I'll kick it over to someone who can speak firsthand about the ins and outs of craft beer operations. Taylor?
Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm Taylor. As Patricia said, I'm coming out of the brewing industry. I've been in brewing for a bit more than a decade. Lastly, and most recently, a mid-sized brewery here in California called Drake's. We had 5 locations, beer gardens, quick service, full service, all that stuff. But I've also been in hospitality my whole life. I have a culinary degree from the Culinary Institute of America, and I've been in hospitality since I was 15 years old. It's really the only world I've ever known. So I'm very excited working with this company, working with this product, helping people like me be more successful, be more efficient, operate better, all of those things. I'm really happy to be here.
Cool. So who's this designed for? It's really for anybody that's focused on revenue in the tap room, whether it's the owner, the GM, even a manager. If your job is to think about how to make more money and deliver a better guest experience, that's what we really want to tee up for you today. Some great, thought-provoking content. So with that, I'll hand it off to Taylor to set us up for today.
Yeah. So some common taproom pitfalls, and please throw your own in the comments and Q&A. I'd love to address them later, but I'm going to talk about kind of the left side of this sheet, because really these first 3 things here, they kind of boil down to line busting. And when you get busy and people are queuing up and they're in line for 5 or 10 minutes, and then somebody gets to the counter, they're talking to a bartender, they still don't know what they want. Or you have a beer bro who wants to taste 5 things, even though he's going to order the flagship IPA anyway. Or even just as a bartender, if I have to deal with cards or go through that Rolodex and split a tab or whatever, all of these things lead to lower check averages, because every minute we spend in line not drinking beer is a minute that you're not selling beer. So ultimately, that leads to lower check averages, which then can lead to lower revenue for you, lower tips for your staff, and very commonly we'll throw more people at this problem, which lowers, you still only have your labor budget. So if you're spending more on people in the front of house, you can't spend as much on people in the back of house if you have a kitchen, all of those kinds of things. And we're going to show some examples of how we use the technology to address these and a bunch of other things to really improve guest experience and staff experience. And then with that, I'll pass it over to Doug to talk about the other side.
Yeah, and then the other side is we kind of broke these up into people and process issues, people on the left, process on the right. When it comes to the process, these are challenges that are uniquely susceptible to the tap room. And we're finding is, for example, the holding of physical credit cards opens you up to issues around PCI compliance and liability, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. And plenty of locations outsource their food because a lot of them are brewery specific and they don't have a working kitchen. So when you're working with food trucks and pop-ups, how are we able to connect their menu in the guest experience in a more intuitive way that really adds to the experience and helps them take advantage of that symbiotic relationship between beer and food? Because the more that they stay and have an ability to eat, then they can stay and drink a little bit longer and vice versa. So they're able to, really be able to maximize that time and spend more. And we'll find out how to connect all of this together in a way that's going to be great for the experience, both from the guest side as well as the staff and the ownership side of the total experience on the guest side. So with that, I'm going to leave it to Taylor to give us a quick rundown on today's main topics.
Yeah, six major topics we're going to cover today, which really also kind of highlight the technology that we're talking about here with GoTab. So innovative ordering strategies, to really boil this down, it comes down to choice. Whether you're a full service restaurant or a, the industrial park brewery that's just starting out, using technology like this lets people choose their own adventure. We get to tell the story together. If you want to stand at the bar, you want to talk about grist and hop bills and ask where the spent grain goes after the brewing process, you can absolutely do that. And at the same time, somebody can sneak in, sit at a table, scan a QR code, place an order, beer just shows up for them, or they get a text to come pick it up, what have you. And then also at the same time, a server can be serving a full service section with a handheld, or the best version of that is the hybrid system where we're telling the story together. So like a quick example, it's a busy Saturday afternoon. I'm the server, I just got sat. And this, I'm running beers to another table or taking an order or whatever. And my new table sees a QR code, they know what to do. They scan it, they place an order. They place an order for, let's say, a couple of Trappist beers. I see that at the bar, or the runner is trained to see that at the bar. So then I'm now thinking about the service element. They like Trappist beers. I know we have a new DeBell. I'm going to ask for 2 tasters of that. I'm going to run my drinks to the table, and now I can introduce myself. Hi, I'm Taylor. Here's your drinks. I'll be taking care of you. I saw you like Belgian ales. Check out this new DeBell that we just launched today. So now I'm starting a personalized experience with them from the get-go. We're connecting about beer. We're connecting about culture. And I'm already queuing up the next sale. I'm already queuing up the next round. So they're already thinking about it. And from there, I can continue to serve them fully, or they can order on their own. We tell the story together, which kind of leads more into the guest facing menus. A lot of us, we have chalkboards, we have panels, we have just enough room for, style, ABV, IBU, which a lot of people, that's all they need. But there are some folks out there that want to know what the grist is. They want to know what the dry hop was. They want to know if you used Warrior or Green Bullet in your bittering charge. So we can use the technology. We even have a video, and Doug will show you this when we get to the demo that Stone made for us. So we can provide that information for those nerds that really want to get into it. And that we have integrations and all these kind of things. But really none of this matters if we lose our connection to people. We're brewers, we work in the brewing industry. A brewery is a place, like Doug said, where people gather. They're having a pint in the afternoon, they're having birthday parties. In my places, we even hosted office parties, wedding receptions, what have you. These are, it's the public house. This is where people go to meet. So we want to connect with our customers in as many ways as possible. And I know there's a lot of kind of misconceptions or wrong ideas out there about using technology to separate people from the staff. And it's really kind of the opposite, where we can use this technology to bring people together. Because I'm not spending my time looking for the credit card, splitting the check, punching in the order, what have you. I'm spending that time, conveying culture to the guest. I'm talking about beer. I'm talking to them, asking about their day, doing whatever, because I now have time to do that, which also means I can serve more tables, get an extra beer in front of everybody. I get better tips. The house gets better revenue. Champagne falls from the sky. And then leading further on into the SMS, it sort of continues that theme. Especially for larger venues, instead of having to run back and forth to a table, back to the kitchen, we can just text them. quick example, like a beer kicks mid pour. Hey, it's just going to be a couple extra minutes. We have to change the keg. At least that we have an expectation set that it's going to be an extra minute or so. Or like if you're doing online pickup ordering and for some reason there's an inventory issue and they order a 4-pack that you don't have, you text them, hey, sorry, we don't have that pale ale. Would you like this one? On us for a discount or whatever you have. Credit card PCI compliance, it's just what it sounds like. That's boring stuff I'm going to let Doug talk about. It's really a lot of competitors in this space are still using that little biscuit swiper, and we have the ability to tap, to dip. We have a great payments terminal with a built-in printer, which I'll cover shortly before we get to the demo. And then kitchen and pop-up order efficiency. This is more for you smaller operations that don't have your own kitchen or host food trucks and pop-ups. We have these great features where we can import their menu onto yours, making this really fluid, seamless guest experience where like they open up a tab, whether it's at the bar, by a server, on their own. I can order beers, I can order from the food truck. The orders go where they belong, the revenue goes where it belongs, the tips go where it belongs. And really, we're only paying one transaction fee. We're not ordering and paying, and then I have to come get my credit card from you to take it to the food truck to go order and then bring it back to you to close my tab. All those annoying little things. Which leads me into what is the point of all of this? Well, these innovative ways of increasing our revenue by really giving people the choice to interact how they want. We get to forget about the mechanics and minutia of the job, treat guests as guests, connect with them on get that human connection there, which makes us more efficient at the same time. And then we're staying labor neutral, we're staying budget neutral. We don't need to add more humans. If we can accomplish this with less servers or they're making more tips, then a topic hot to me is paying cooks better, giving them benefits and days off and a wage where they don't have to have 3 jobs. I mean, I was that cook, 20 years ago. I was that kid that had to work 3 jobs to make ends meet. And like, if we can provide a better work environment, we have better employee retention, happy people are more productive, happy customers spend more. It's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly.
Just to move over to the hardware real quick, and then I'll kick it over to Doug so he can actually show you how this thing works. But this is one platform. It's not a mobile order and pay and a POS and an online store. It's a platform that has those 3 points of view. So we have the mobile order and payment system. People can order from their computer, from their phone, online for pickup, for delivery. We can handle multi-unit, which refers back to the food truck pop-up scenario. We also work with a lot of food halls. And then on the employee-facing side, we have very robust, strong, waterproof, drop-proof terminals to punch orders in on. We have the KDS system, which, speaking completely out of being a GoTab employee, when I used it as an operator, in my opinion, is one of the best kitchen display systems that there is today. And I've used them all. I've used Micros and Digital Dining, all of them. And then really a big star of the show is that handheld POS, that PAX terminal that it runs the point of sale. It can dip a card, it can swipe a card, it can chip a card. It also has a little printer for when you need to print a receipt. It's got a SIM card, so you can take it to events. You can use it for your merch booth at festivals or what have you. And then I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let Doug take you folks through a quick demo of the platform and how it works.
Thanks, Doug. That was a great and very comprehensive overview of everything that we're going to cover for today and that we're going to show in hopefully a more interactive way. So as I go through, we're going to talk a little bit about how we can utilize a lot of these tools in a way that makes sense for your business. And as we go through, again, we'll have the ability for questions to pop in. And if anything is, as we can add to it as we go through, we'll cover as we go. Otherwise, we'll save those for the Q&A, but we definitely like to have this be interactive. So the more feedback that we can get from everybody in questions, the better. And actually, let me kind of start with a question before I get into showing what this all looks like from a couple different perspectives. From as an owner and an operator, anybody that's on this call that works with a brewery, here's a question I might ask. So out of everybody who's come out to visit the brewery last month, do you know how many are coming in this month? It's a fairly straightforward question, but not a very simple answer to it right off the cuff. And what we're finding is when it comes to food and beverage businesses, nearly 2/3 of those who enter your business only enter once. So where's the gap there? What's the problem? Why are we not able to then convert them to coming back more often? And the number one question that we get asked at GoTab is, how can we help our operators get better access to good customer data? And then how can they use that in a way that helps them make some more informed decisions? So what we're showing here when we look at the whole platform, and as GoTab, as you already probably know, GoTab is really specializing in the food and beverage space specifically, with this really niche interest in working directly with the taproom, because the taproom has both the side on the brewery, but also connects with food. So this is really where we specialize best, and in this mixed use space. All the tools that we're going to show you today, you can use very tactically, or you can use it throughout your business. There's going to be a couple different ways that we're going to show it, but as Taylor had really kind of hit the nail on the head too, it's about giving optionality for the guest experience. So what we'll do is we'll start on QR code ordering, because that's one that folks have a lot of questions about, not really understanding how that tool gets used. So I'm going to just kind of switch gears here and show you what this looks like from a guest perspective to start. And then we can kind of walk through what a flow looks like in terms of them being able to order. Okay.
And Doug, while you're doing that, I'll give you a chance to get set up. We've gotten our first very bold brewery question.
Oh, great.
I didn't expect you to answer it as directly as it's been asked, but we're going to get close. The question is, how is this different, better, cost-effective of, and I don't even need to name the names, but there are two that come up in the conversation. So
yeah,
be mindful, but we're not naming names, and we'll get to you who answer that question. Well, I get you a direct answer, but I want you to be mindful of that question.
Got it. Okay. So absolutely. And we'll kind of cover this a bit more as we go. But here's the main difference to take away from anyone who has different points of sale, they all have pros and cons. Nobody's perfect. But what we find is there are some who do things a little bit more clean, a little bit better, and a little bit more helpful to the way that you like to operate. When it comes to using this feature, on using this QR code ordering, since that was asked about specifically, keep in mind, so GoTab was originally designed as a QR code ordering tool. So our first tool that we ever worked with years ago, our founder, being an e-commerce engineer, and then opening his own brewery, thought, hey, there's got to be a better way to provide guest service. So he started rolling out QR code ordering when it was just in its infancy days. What ended up happening is then, as we grew, we built our point of sale around the QR code ordering. So it all connects in a much more intuitive way that some of the other businesses in our space have a little bit of a harder time doing. And it's not any knock on it, it's just the way that it's been developed in the evolution of the business. So for example, what ends up happening is most of the point of sales, who are point of sales first and then mobile ordering second, ends up having their tool really only added in as a result of COVID. So COVID created that booming need for contactless menus, and they saw that, hey, there's probably an option to order here. Then once that tool was added, they didn't really have it connected intuitively the same way that we're going to show you how. And just as an example, if you ever go to use a location who's not on GoTab, that's using another type of QR ordering, you'll notice that almost in every single case, they're operating off of the e-commerce site. So the way that when you go to shop online and you see, let's just use Square, since Square is a Square and Toast, maybe, for example. So they're multi-billion-dollar businesses. I think they're okay. So Square is actually on Square's site. Okay, Square is not actually on Square. So what that means is it's on two separate platforms. You have to run two separate menus. Everything's in duplicate. You want to be able to track all the orders that come in from the point of sale and QR ordering, double, right? So let me show you what this looks like. I'm just going to simulate what the experience looks like from the guest side, and we're going to run through a couple different service flows. The first flow that we're going to talk about is somebody that comes in, it's a guest, comes in for the first time, they sit at a table and they see a QR code, and then they access it for information, and they see that it's a tool that they can be able to order from. So after they scan, they'll pull up a little menu that kind of looks like this. All right. So this is our mobile user experience. This is our mobile interface. One of the things you'll see right out of the gate, it's not an app. Okay. It's a page. So they're able to navigate this straight away without having to download anything and have to follow a couple additional prompts. And if they want to use this just for the ability to access your menu and see what you have for product offerings, great. But when you think about what the term point of sale means, it's a point where a sale can be made. Novel idea. But that point can be now done into a QR code. So if you put these points around your business, whether it's at your table or in a back room or outside in a patio or on a tree, wherever it may be that's out in your walking space, these are all ways for them to be able to interact with your menu in your business. So I'm going to show you just kind of a couple different looks that you see as they go through. First, we're probably going to look through and want to take a look at the beer menu, right, before we get any food. So we look at beer. In this case, we've got a combination of text and thumbnail, right? And these are all breweries that we work with, so they can be really ranged, big or small. So it has broad application for various types of tap rooms. So let's say we want to order, well, let's go with a half pint. We'll start our day a little bit easier. And I can start this right now with just a little one tap order. I actually started this a little bit before. So when I'm able to go in here, in this case, all we have to do is we have to enter in our card information for the first time once, and it will associate with the phone number that I'm scanning this from. So you never have to be able to enter in payment information again, which is another differentiating point. Because normally you'd have to, very frequently, I've seen this happen with Oracle, for example. They have a lot of plugins where you can only do it one time at a time. So you have to enter in your payment information each and every time. So let's say I want to do a one tap order. Okay, this goes right in. Let's use Stone because Taylor mentioned Stone. Stone actually uses a lot of video content, so just gives an option about what you want to display. They use a lot of video for tasting notes.
I am sitting here with our flagship Stone IPA. Nice bright golden beer.
Right, so it just gives some, again, more optionality about what you want that guest experience to shape like. So it can be photo, it can be video. If you do video, we recommend Vimeo, under 30 seconds, 20 seconds is best. If you're in an open air environment, it's probably fine to have audio. If you're in a quiet space, maybe you want to shut the audio off and you want it to be just video. We've had kitchens that will use this to show like the chef's special for the day, and they'll show them actually making it. So as we are in the world of constant content creation, and there's a lot of information to digest, these are ways that we're able to kind of stretch that value. So as you create content for your social media, you can also use it and loop it back into the guest experience in the tap room. So let's say we're going to add this right here. Okay, actually, it's going to give me an option for, I have to select a size. So I'll pick a size. I can cancel this if I want, otherwise it goes through. And now we just put in for order for a couple of drinks. Now our orders went in and we want to browse the food menu, right? We're just the two of us, so we're going to take a look at the food. And now we see that the food menu is larger content display. So these are just, again, different options, right? And I think that the food works well as a large image because people like to eat with the eyes. You know, there's a reason why they like to see the food photography, and this whole Instagram feed is dedicated to just food. So let me come down here. Okay. Well, pretzels are always nice with beer. So let's, and beer cheese, we can add a little comment here if we'd like. Some folks choose to shut that off so they don't get a whole soliloquy. So I'm just going to add that in. Okay.
And while you're doing that, Doug,
Yeah.
not to interrupt, but another very direct question I think would be helpful to put in here. So the attendee asked, in a more rural community where most of our customers know us and we know them,
Yep.
Why would they use QR code ordering?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, it can be a tool that you decide whether or not you want to lean into it more or you want to lean into it less. If we're talking specifically for the demographic, people use technology over and over again that's easy. They abandon it quick when it's hard. So if you make it a part of the experience that's easier for them to use, and even in the rural community, you may have, you know, John and Sally who come out regularly to each Friday. And all of a sudden, if they don't come out for a month and you're kind of curious, like, hey, why haven't we been seeing our regulars? Now you have a little access point. You know, everyone gets busy in life, but now with a little bit of information that we're sharing, because in order to start this, we're going to share our name and our phone number. And then when we close out for a tab, we'll show you that we'll send a digital receipt. Now we have a little bit of a profile on John and Sally. So we don't see them coming back out. We can send a message to anybody that hasn't come out over the last month and say, hey, come join us for this special event that we're doing. We really value and appreciate you and want to see you again. Right. So it just gives some options to be able to engage that way. If they don't want to order that way, the point of sale allows them to have the traditional ordering method. So this just gives, again, that option for the guest experience. Did I answer that question okay,
I think that's good. And I think we have some great examples of operators that, like you said, provide those options, even in rural areas.
For sure. Yeah, thank you. And just a quick note on menu here, since we did talk about food truck and pop-ups, we have a lot of breweries that we work with who will feature the third party's menu as kind of like piggybacking on their point of sale for the day. So the simple way that they go about that is they give them their menu in advance. We put the menu here and we activate it for the night that they're there. And then at the end of the day, you can just track your sales and cut a check to the business, you know, minus whatever agreements if you need to work out any margin difference to them. But it's very, very common. We see that a lot. So that's what the ordering flow looks like. And just to show, if I wanted to settle up my tab right now and pay, if I come to this pay menu, I can see the little coupon popped up, telling me I can claim my coupon for next time I come back. So we can give promotional opportunities as we go throughout. It's one thing to get a discount then, but it's another to also offer a re-engagement mechanism for them to come back for the next time. So that way they're more prompted, and we can kind of start to shape that journey for them to be able to come back in and have a repeat business. So right now we've got different auto gratuity levels set up. If we need to, if we forget to pay, close this out, auto gratuity will close out at this 18%. We can pay in full, we can split with a friend. One of the things I'll actually show here, if I wanted to continue to order some more, I can also share my tab. So we can either share this from the QR code on my phone, or I can share this with, let's say, a friend of ours. Okay, so let me share my screen. If anybody wants to grab their phone and take a quick scan on this, you can see what that user experience looks like. So let me give that maybe just a quick minute. And if you scan this now, you know, don't order every single thing on the menu because it's going to run up my own personal credit card. But hey, that's okay. We're all friends here. So scan the QR code, and you'll be able to actually place an order on my tab. That's another unique feature set. So we can make this discoverable to the group that they're sitting with. Close that. Okay, so we placed a few orders. Those orders now went into the appropriate printer or kitchen display screen, and we'll show you where that ends up. But I kind of want to move to the different model of service number 2, which is just going the traditional way. So let's say we're here and we want to show someone comes up to the bar and they want to order off the point of sale. So they come up to the counter and now they just want to order regular. So we come up and we say, what would you like? Okay, we'll take one of these Ballast Point Sculpins. We'll take a Stone IPA. Okay, pick our size. Maybe we want 2, so I'll add that in. And now we send it in. Okay, great. So we started a couple of tabs. This is GoTab's point of sale. It is simple by design, but it will do everything that you need to from a food and beverage ordering perspective. And this is where we talk about that hybrid model that Taylor touched on, that ability to link both of these ordering tools. So right now we've got this order that's been placed. If I want to, what we're going to do is we're going to give the ability to share that tab now that's been started at the bar to the guest. So if you have an environment where it's very common for the flow to be ordering at the bar and then moving to away from the bar, like moving to a table or moving somewhere within the business, this is a nice option that'll allow you to do that. And I won't run the full video, but if you want to YouTube, there's a nice little video on YouTube on GoTab Easy Tab. All right, so GoTab Easy Tab is you are able to authorize using the card reader, and then we share it to the guest. So if I go right here and I authorize this, we start a tab, we say sure. Now I can share this with the guest, and now they can take that over on their phone. So they're able to use both. And the inverse is also true. So under all open, I can see anyone who's opened a tab that has a credit card associated with it. A simple way to remember this, if you do end up working with GoTab, is any name that's in all caps that has this little card associated is a QR code order. Okay. These runs right now, these are just, demo environment orders. So, but most of these cases will have a name that's associated with it. So as you go and you want to be able to continue the order and interact with the guests, like Taylor had mentioned, if you wanted to provide table service and we go over to Jess's table and we see that they are, out of beer, we might say, hey, Jess, we say, hi, did you start an order at the table? Yes, I did. Oh, well, would you like another beer? Would you like to put in some food? I can put that in for you. And using our point of sale, which is mobile, and we can also put that point of sale on the PAX device, the actual card reader itself, it gives a lot of flexibility with how we're able to order. So in this case for Jess, they come in and say, yeah, actually, I'd like to order some food. So now we can go through and we can add some food for Jess. So Jess wants to order a Philly cheesesteak. Okay, great. We're going to add that in for Jess. So it's really giving that option about how we shape that journey, but by giving that combined buying power, we're going to see a big impact to the bottom line for the business, for the spend of the guest, and for all the tips that will come in for the staff, because greater check averages will result in greater tip and gratuity once we start to structure in a lot of those like gratuity levels in so that they can make it easy.
Doug, another question,
Sure.
Which I think might be a good time to jump in. So the question is, we have food trucks on nights that we have live music rather than our normal menu.
Yep.
Can you disable your normal menu on those nights and add the food truck menu.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually a nice little segue that we can show to the next phase. And actually on menu management, just so we can show there's some different options on how we want to display the menu, both on the point of sale and to the guest. There's a lot of flexibility. So right now, if we needed to go between menus on this point of sale, if we're a server, we can go and we can click through to these quick little bubbles to be able to see the different menus, right? On the flip side, if we want, a lot of times in draft beer, we find it's very helpful to be able to have a quick button to the size of the beer. So there's an option under here where if we check to the settings and we go to menu, we can group these by what we call a quick modifier. So you see the show quick modifier. And now we go to place an order. We'll have quick access to these individual sizes. Okay. So that's a little bit of a nice feature on menu management for the point of sale side. From the situation that you had described, Patricia, that was asked, that's going to be related to our menu management on the manager dashboard. So actually, let me just move this back so we can level set this here, because I want to bring this back to where we just were. So okay, I'm going to shut those quick modifiers off so it's a little more clean. Okay, right, so we're back here again. So if we show our okay, so the windows that we've shown so far have been from the guest experience, from ordering both as QR code and ordering at the counter, and a combination of the two. So we've covered the guest experience. What we're going to talk about right now is the managers and the owners experience. So as manager, if you want to be able to update your menu for the night, there's a very simple way to remember this. So this is our manager dashboard, and this is where you do everything from updating your menu to tracking your sales, adding products, tracking all of your subscribers, all that good information that we're starting to gather and work with. So the easy way to remember this on these first two, these are your menu management at the top. Your product catalog is what displays on the point of sale. The menu is what displays to the guest, okay? Because guests use menus and staff use products, right? So when we're talking about a special menu, let's say, and some of these are just about, some can be toggled on and off if you want it set up for the day, but you also have the option to schedule. So like if we look at this order right now, we've got beverages, food, dessert, brunch. Now in our menu, we've got beverages, food, dessert, whoop, no brunch. Why is brunch not there? It's not time for brunch, right? Brunch is usually Sunday, weekend item. So what we want to do is we want to go up here to this calendar. And now we can set these schedules in advance so that they run during the timeframes that we want. So if we know that the food truck is going to be active starting at 5 o'clock, then maybe we start right at 5, move this out, we can set the days of the week that they'll be there. And now this menu will only display during the windows of time that we set. So right now we've got 2 different days with 2 different time frames, because maybe they're there every day except Thursday from 5 to 11, and Friday they're there from 12 to 9. So now we're going to set that up that way. You'll see a lot of this is like very just easy toggle, click, drag and drop. We can also tease a menu. So we can show a menu that's scheduled in advance, especially when we talk about holiday menus and seasonal. We can set up the seasonal menus so that they are reflected during a window of time where you don't order from them, but you can just see that it's available. So we've seen a lot of breweries do this for upcoming releases. They'll want to kind of tease the draft beers that are going to be coming up in the next week or two. So they'll use that menu specifically to show what's upcoming. Okay. And I won't spend too much time on this manager side, because this can get pretty in-depth and detailed. But since we're talking about revenue, let me actually just touch on that, because this is really the focal point of what our topic's about. We're trying to figure out how we're able to use all those tools to be able to track your sales and make more revenue for the business. So what we're doing here is all those orders that were coming in from the guests with the QR code, they get put into especially once they check out for the email. So you'll get a digital receipt email to you, and that will list under a section here called subscribers. So subscribers are going to be any email that we collect during this entire time where we're operating and guests ordering this way. We can also track all of the orders down to the specific order to their phone number of anybody who's ordered via QR code here under tabs. So we can select the tabs and we can start to see specific names and specifically, what they've ordered, what their phone number is. If there was ever an issue with feedback, there's a feedback mechanism on here when they close, so that if they ever give, some negative feedback, we have an option to engage with them directly and follow back up. And there's one of the things we talk about a lot is about the ability to start to segment these groups down, right? A lot of breweries will work with having an industry night, or want to give a military discount, a mug club, for example. So what we do is we set up what we call rules, and these rules are these conditional criteria that we can set forth, so that we can start to say, hey, if A is met, then B, and so forth. This looks more layered in than it really is, but after you make up a couple, you can kind of see it's all like, under this all condition, we're able to give a 10% discount out of the entire tab in all of these spaces to anybody who's designated as military. And then once we do designate them, then we start to group all those subscribers into what we call segments. And now these segments we can use for super targeted marketing and follow up for specific nights or specific promotions. And there's different options on how we want to be able to give that offer. So like, do you want that discount to come at the checkout? You can do that. If you want that to come at the beginning when they first scan a QR code, we can actually connect that to the specific persona type, so that if a military person who has their phone number linked into GoTab scans a QR code, we can pop up a promotion just for the military and just for that segment. So,
yeah, that probably answers one of the other questions that we got. So this question is, it's common for bands is special pricing to cover the cost. So typically a 50% up on all alcohol pricing. How would this be handled? Is that pretty much how it would be handled through a rule like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so correct me if I'm wrong, the question there is if there's a special night and we're going to give the band a share of the revenue. Is that kind of the?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's what the question is asking.
Yeah, I mean, let's call it that. I mean, we can start to get down a little bit more granular into some specific conditions behind that. So it may be that you need to only give the band a cut of the craft beer sales, right? Because like the alcohol is probably one that's not going to then start to roll into effect any third-party food. So what we would do is we would set up that we'd set up that type of rule in place where over the course of that given date and night, so like it can be all super conditional down to the most granular of details. So if we want to make it so that it's in a given night, anybody who orders these products during this time frame gets a certain discount. And then on the back ends, what we'll do is we'll track all of those sales and we can separate the revenue from one or the other. So all this sales dashboard is all fully customizable. We can pick it over a specific date or a specific range, and we can decide that we want to separate that particular revenue. So the same way if we need to give the band a cut of that revenue or a food truck the cut of their food sales, we'll just separate that particular line item on here as that sales for that given day. And we can look at these at, sales by hour, orders by hour. If you select a specific date, if you pick a range, then over the range, we'll show you all of the orders and revenue that comes in from each day by day. All right, some of the things we want to make sure we're checking on. We want to check on what's our average tab count. We're in this demo environment here, so this is a small tab, but we want to make sure that we're getting a good average spend. How many total tabs that we have here? What's the difference between any gratuity that's going to be coming in automatically versus tipping? Okay. And then the last on the sales is if you want to track product specific sales, you want to come down into your product mix. And this will be able to have us break down, especially on the brewing side, this is really helpful. We can break down to the ounce of the sales that are made. So right now we're showing, let's see, over that time period, Stone IPA is most popular. We're seeing what was sold where. And then we see the different sizes. So between these different sizes, 16, 10, 5, if we need to create an aggregate total of all the ounces sold, we can track that down to the ounce level. Okay, so I can take a quick pause there, but we covered the guest experience and the manager side of it since we were talking about revenue. But really want to talk about is then like once those orders start to come in or those orders are being received, how is that then being received by kitchen or from the bar staff, which also kind of touches on our third perspective, that's the staff perspective. So the staff perspective is going to be on this, both the point of sale for the front of house, but for the back of house and anybody who's receiving orders, we're going to show a display screen here. Any question, Patricia, we want to touch on before we talk a little bit about this?
No questions right now, but feel free to send them in.
All right, great. So again, the QR code, kitchen display screens, all these are tools that are at your disposal. There's no additional charge for any of these. You get all these tools because we're trying to be in a position to help our operators be as successful as they can with shaping that optional type of experience that they want. So the kitchen display screen is really just a digital ticket taker. So these digital tickets that are coming through, the same way that a printer operates, you can use a kitchen display screen in replacement for a printer, or you can use them in combination of the printer. And before I kind of go into what the functionality is here and how this all looks, I'll give you the simple version for it, right? So like we're showing right now these different tickets that have come in. Some of them have names associated, some of them have tables associated, right? So we've got a table and a name. So this is, I'm showing, if it's lowercase, it's a staff. If it's uppercase, it's a guest who initiated it. So we see for that originated that tab. So remember Jessica's tab that she originated, Doug the server, in this case, that's that hybrid combination. We've got both our names. So Doug the server put in this cheesesteak order for Jess, right? In these case, we've got Doug coming into the bar. He put in that pretzel order just by himself. Why does that matter? That matters because anybody who's used the QR code ordering, we have options for that SMS texting that's happening in the background. And they typically happen 3 times. So they happen when an order has been placed to let them know the order is being prepared. They happen when a order has been fulfilled. So in this case, if I bump this order off and have this completed, and now this is on its way to be delivered, that order for Jess will get a message to her saying the order is on its way, or the order is ready for pickup at the window if you want to do counter serve. And then we do a third message when we have the bill be paid, and then they say, hey, thank you for coming out, and here's your bill. And so you can customize that messaging however you like. It can be automated and triggered at that point, or we can also text them directly if there ends up being an issue where, you know, a product kicks and that we need, in case, hey, Michael's Kolsch kicked out before we can change the keg. So we need to let Michael know, hey, sorry, Michael, but one of your orders is unavailable. And now Michael can send a message back to us and let us know what he'd like instead. We can send a message follow-up and say, hey, would you like a different item? Right. I think a couple of things that are really helpful to know on this side here is when it comes to you ordering for the kitchen display, a lot of these are now in red. So we're showing these orders that have gone over on time. So we're going to clear some of these off because now we're going to say that these orders have been complete. Okay. As these orders are being complete, anyone who's had this phone number associated, again, gets their message. So as we're closing these off, you might see a couple of words that jump out, like batch. So a batch, what that does is it's putting the same order on the same ticket. That's helpful for staff efficiency because now we can make sure that that gets delivered together wherever we can. Especially if we order 2 different food items for the same table, we want to bring those together. If you've used QR code ordering in some other places, you might notice that you ordered 2 similar items, but you got them delivered at separate times. So we're really trying to have the QR code, if you want to use it, to have the ability to make it very similar to the same experience that you would go if you ordered directly from the staff, right? Servers are there because in part they're going to be delivering that product all together, keeping that experience cohesive. This allows it through GoTab to do it the same way. If we're talking about having a food truck that needs their own tablet, and so these orders that are coming in, there's a lot of orders here because this is all showing all orders that are coming in for the whole business. This is showing the all expo orders, meaning everybody. We can do is we can toggle only a specific fulfillment location. So the same way that you have all of your products that route to a specific printer, they'll route to a specific tablet. So let me say, like, you know, we only want to see the kitchen items, okay? Because the kitchen only needs to see that. So we'll select only the kitchen items. And now from the kitchen's perspective, they'll only see orders that are relevant to them. Same thing for the food truck. Right, so like that's what you'll do is you'll keep one of these tablets, keep the menu, and then loan that to that food truck for the night. You see that, like, this is very, very popular to do in the taproom space because all it does is require one single piece of hardware. The point of sale or the kitchen display screen can be put onto any Android or Apple device. If you want, we can provide one for you, or you can provide your own. And I think a couple extra features that are helpful to know up here from a order efficiency perspective, we talked about that. We want to make sure that they have the ability to either 86 a product if it runs out, or show a delay to the guest. So what does that look like? All right, so if the keg just kicked, right, we sent that message that one of these beers was just out. So if we want to let them know that this beer is out, we 86 that. Now that will reflect both in the point of sale and the guest menu, right? So it's all in one place. Like all these are all connected in this way, so it's all cohesive. If we find that you're working with a pizza shop and all the pizzas backed up because there's only so many pizzas we can do at one time, we can add in a delay that lets the guests know that there's going to be a little bit of extra time. So if we want to do a 15-minute delay on pizza, let's say, right? Now when I come back to my food menu and I check out my food and I see pizza, now I see that there's a 15-minute delay on pizza. And just a quick note here, you see that this one says 15 minutes and this one says 27. So in this case, we can show the guest if there's prep time needed for food right out of the gate, or we don't have to. So if we want to convey that to them, in this case, because this says 15 and this says 27, that indicates, quick math, if I'm mistaken, there was a 12-minute prep time set for this margarita pizza. So that's some of like the more nuanced detail, but then that way, why is that helpful? It's helpful because now as a guest, if I place that order, I've opted in to know how much time I'm going to need in order to have that be fulfilled for me.
And I know we're running long on time. One other, I think, important differentiator is that little person down in the right-hand bottom of the screen. You might want to mention who that person is.
Hey, thank you, Patricia. Such a great call out. Okay, so as part of working with GoTab, you'll have a team that's assigned to working with you directly to make sure that we're able to work through your onboarding process and work together as an account manager. However, there's also quick access to our wonderful customer success team, these little bubbles in the bottom right. So both on the kitchen display screen, as well as on the point of sale, you'll find this option to be able to communicate directly with a guest or with the customer success team that will talk to the operator directly for any issues on the fly. So, okay, and that's a pretty good quick rundown of the different flows of how all these kind of work all together. And really, I think what we're trying to show is that these tools can be used in ways that allow you to be able to have a better grasp on what service flow that you want to have available to you. So the key takeaways here, we're able to reduce those lines because some lines are okay, but long lines show an operational inefficiency. So if every time that they come to the counter and it takes extra time and you've got that beer bro who's being indecisive when there's a group that's behind them, you know what, that's an ability for them to like give a little bit of options so that we don't always have a bottleneck starting to happen. And with the right, let me jump ahead, with the right balance, we don't want to replace any staff. We want to give the staff more time at the table and with the guests and less time at the terminal. And overall, because we're giving these two abilities to order together, we're seeing you're able to increase the spend, which will also be able to help us build those profiles of clients as we're collecting that good data. And then we can start to do that re-engagement that we need to bring them back into the business and really become brand loyal. And let me turn it over to Taylor so you can talk a bit about beer menus.
Yeah, sure. So we touched on this briefly before, and I'll just kind of revisit that. You saw as Doug was going through the demo, we have a lot of options for what menus look like, but we also can decide what we communicate with them, whether it's the video or it's photos, or if you do really want to list out final gravity, or you want to let them know that there was some oats or some Munich malt or some crystal malt in that beer. We give you the ability to write a novel about it if you really want to. But more importantly is, a lot of us are using Untapped. So, we have an integration with Untapped. When you change your beer, it changes in GoTab. And that's not just on your point of sale. It's not just on your mobile order and pay. Everything changes all at once with no latency. So it's a one-stop shop instead of having to go to 4 different dashboards to change a beer, to add a beer, to rewrite a description, copy and pasting, what have you. But it also gives you an opportunity to use that information for your staff. So if you do have customers or you do want to display that information for the people that want it, you can also now refer, as we're training our staff, and we want our bartenders and our servers to be very knowledgeable about beer. Using myself as the example again, in my company, we actually, if you wanted to serve tables in my restaurant, you had to at least become a certified beer server. We paid for it, we paid the $60 or whatever, but it was something that was important to us, that people knew how to manage a faucet, how to talk about beer, how to identify certain styles, at least to the point where, like, why is a pale ale a pale ale? Why is an IPA an IPA? It didn't need to be perfect, but using this tool, you now have a reference in your pocket. I can look at it, or if there's a new beer coming out, hey guys, we're launching the new IPA today, the new hazy. Check it out on the GoTab app. Get all the information from it there instead of having to publish a second document. There's no latency in those updates. If something kicks, when something needs to come up, or even Doug talked about timers and schedules. If you know a beer is coming out in 4 weeks and you want it to just appear one day, you can sit down with your brew schedule. You can enter in all your beers and all their projected launch dates, and they'll just show up when you want them to. There's also kind of the social media aspect of, you're watching videos, you're looking at pictures of it, we're reading about it, really encouraging people to interact with the menu instead of just looking at a piece of paper, or that hated PDF that you have to zoom in on just to read. We also have some really cool stuff like password protected menus for any of you venues that have like a banquet area, or if you have like a mug club or a founders club and they get early access to, racks of cans that are coming out, or they get, if you have a small club of people who buy kegs from you, you can create, using that segments and rules section, you create segments, you create rules, and then they can have their own little secret private menu, like to the point where Doug and I can be sitting at a table together and looking at 2 completely different menus.
Yeah.
And then the two-way texting, I think we covered this enough, really. It's a really nice addition for larger venues, or, for the customer, like, oh, I messed up. I actually didn't want mayonnaise on my burger. Send a message to the kitchen. It bangs. Somebody acknowledges that. Sure, no problem. Mayonnaise on the side, or whatever it might be. It really just speeds up the interaction process, and it's a really powerful tool, for when you want to use it. We advance to the next one, please. Thank you. One more.
I think this one's on me here, actually, unless I messed up one. So, well, I mean, we already talked about this a little bit, but the gist in this one here is that while a little bit of line is okay, longer lines we want to try to avoid. So you can use it as a line buster, but think about it like this, especially if you're going to a location where you've got your business and you also have that food truck business separate. We talked about that holding of cards. Not only is that a liability issue, but if they're holding a card and that's their primary mode to be able to spend, while they've got one card hold at one place, they're not able to order at the other. So we want to make sure that we're breaking down those bottlenecks and giving the ability to have both of those orders come through. You want to cover this one too?
Yeah. This final slide. This is real world data on one of our bigger customers. They made the switch to GoTab, and this is data from GoTab, not from their previous POS. And you can see for them it works really, really well. Their average check increases by $12. And that's on average. And this is a large operation. They're doing several million a year in sales. And the point of this slide, there's a lot more data that can be shown from this case study. But the point is, like, by making it simpler for the customer to place an order, they ordered more. That $10 is essentially that extra beer or that extra food item, or an extra flight or whatever it might be. And if we can do that for you, if we can get that extra item on the table, that's a huge win for everybody. So this is a really great slide to kind of illustrate some real world data of what happens when you utilize this hybrid service system. And this particular really does utilize the hybrid service model, where there is a server on the floor waiting the table, but also you can engage with it as a customer.
Yeah, and then we'll cover just kind of this last bit on PCI compliance. We talked about this as a very technical end of it, but here's the general idea: is that while many of the point of sale systems are still using traditional magstripe readers, GoTab uses only EMV readers, which is Europay, MasterCard, Visa. Those are the companies that got together. It's ultimately decided that the chip was what they needed to be able to reduce any liability to the merchant side of the business. What does that really translate out to? What that means is if you are swiping a chip card, you can open the business up to liability. So what you really want to make sure is that you're using a chip reader every single time, so that way you're able to protect the business and capture the right information, which we showed using GoTab. By having that authorization, you also have that ability to then immediately capture text information from them, and then that leads to creating a profile for them. I think one of the other helpful features to know, we'll just mention it, but we can talk a little bit about this as a follow-up. This PAX device here also doubles as a point of sale. So I think Taylor touched on this a little bit, but we can use a single device to be able to do both the transaction and putting that in as
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think we lost Doug. You want to wrap it for us, Taylor?
Yeah. So picking up what Doug was saying before he turned into an Iceman, the PAX terminal is a really robust piece of technology. As I said, you can dip the card, you can tap it, you can swipe it. It's got a printer for when you need it. We can put a SIM card in it for when you want to take it out, or if you need to take it out, if you have a large outdoor venue or you want to go to a festival or what have you. Plus, with the chip and dip, you are PCI compliant in full, whereas with swiping, there's more liability. So when you are able to dip a card and not have to do chip and pin, you have less liability, you have less opportunity for chargebacks, all of those great things. You're fully PCI compliant. And a lot of the competitors, the brand A and the brand S and the brand T of the world don't actually do that for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Taylor. I know we only have a few more minutes. We do have time for questions. If anyone has any final questions they want to put in the chat, we will also answer any questions through email. We also are going to make this recording available. I'm going to ask kind of the elephant in the room because it always comes up. I'm over the QR. I don't ever want to use the QR again.
Yeah.
Is there a solution for GoTab?
Yeah, there is. So QR ordering is a very robust tool. It's not a perfect fit for everybody, quite frankly, but we still have a lot of advantages. And I think really the baggage here is a lot of companies did it the wrong way. Doug said this at the beginning of the seminar. We started as a QR ordering tool for other point of sales, and then we built our own point of sale. The other ones that you've seen that you hate, the ones that you've had a terrible experience with, that don't batch orders, that make you put in your credit card every time, all of those things, we did this first. We're kind of the OGs in this game, so we've had time to solve all of these problems. But also we're solving it for ourselves. We own a brewery, or two breweries that the CEO owns, and he founded them himself. So he was solving his own problems. And it's unfortunate that so many people did it so poorly, and it makes it more difficult for us to come in with one that actually works, that actually improves the customer experience and can be a really robust tool for people, because we're not separating you from your customer. We're not forcing you to order on two platforms, like Doug said, where Square actually uses their Squarespace site, Toast uses Toast Tab, Clover uses a completely other third party. There's Bebot, and there's all these other ones that don't need to get named. The point is, we bring it all together in one spot, and we don't charge you through the nose for it.
Yeah. Well, we would love to answer any follow-up questions. Of course, you can reply to us at info@gotab.io. We'll be reaching out with a link to the recording. Of course, we always want to give demos, so you can go straight to gotab.com and request a demo. And we thank you all for your time today. Thank you so much, Taylor. Thank you, Doug, even though you're not here, but we understand there's a storm coming in Florida. So thanks, everyone, and you all have a great afternoon. Thank you. Bye.